Happy Wednesday evening to everybody. I'm Chris Lee, joined by Blayne Gilmer and Blake Lovell. We'll be with you live for about an hour tonight, talking SEC football. We are going to make this a listener-focused show, so we'll take your questions. Use that super chat if you like. That helps us out. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Of course, we always start by thanking our sponsor, Steaks. So you can see the promo at the bottom there. Go to playwithsteaks.com/Southeastern14. Get in on the fun. We've got a lot of bets at the app that's always free. Gentlemen, lots to talk about.
I went 5-0 last week on Steaks, so bring it on. People. Bring it on.
Can I point something out here on Steaks? Now, I think it should be illegal for Chris to post some of these questions that are who's going to win, Alabama or, Louisiana-Monroe here. And I got nothing against Louisiana-Monroe fans that may be joining the chat, but come on. Give me something a little more enticing, Chris, on these
Hey, you can go on Steaks and post your own polls if you don't like.
Look at that. You like that? You like how it led you there? That was like leading on a 40-yard pass down the field. That's exactly what we needed.
That was easy. And that goes for anybody who's one of our listeners or in the chat. So create your own. We need to do some good prop bets this week.
Rusty. Hello, Rusty.
So, gentlemen, had some great football. I don't remember a much better first 2 weeks of SEC football.
Yeah.
We got drama at the top. We got...
Unless you're an A&M fan.
Well, there's drama. That could be the biggest thing of the year, honestly, if that goes south. Although, they're going to owe Jimbo Fisher $90 million.
He's going to find a way.
They want to make a move.
He'll find a way to make it easier on Texas A&M once this thing all goes south, and he wants to go to West Virginia. That's what's going to happen. When Bill Brown gets fired, he's going to want out of that train wreck and go to West Virginia. Is what's going to happen.
Is he going to want out of it $90 million bad?
I think it'll be some kind of mutual thing where he gives them a little break. They give him a lot of the money they owed him, and I think he'll be like, I'm going to go home to West Virginia, sucking his thumb after this garbacle that happened with over there, because it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling with that collection of talent how you could start that way.
So tell people, if they don't know what happened, what he said about the WVU job.
Oh, this is 2 days before they play App State, and he's like, and he's got this humongous contract from Texas A&M. He's like, I mean, you never say never, all this kind of stuff. That's how Jimbo Fisher goes.
That's pretty good.
I mean, he's over there. Never say never, all that kind of stuff. I mean, when you're the head coach at Texas A&M and you want that job and you want to win a national championship and you want to keep building on the number one recruiting class you just have, you say, I love everything about Texas A&M. I'm not going anywhere. We're worrying about beating App State this week. And he did not say that. That is not what he said. He said, that's home. I'd love to go home someday, all that kind of stuff. And he just didn't say that. So that's what I got out of it. I think he's already seeing the writing on the wall with some of this stuff. So.
Before they lost to A&M.
Yeah, I think the culture, people are in an uproar because Denver Harris, who's a cornerback for Texas A&M, a highly recruited cornerback, he was flying through a parking garage there in College Station, live streaming it on Instagram as he's going 60 miles an hour in a parking garage going through. I could have killed somebody in there. I mean, there's culture problems. There's all kinds of stuff. It's going to be a tough road to hoe. I think a tough road to hoe for Jimbo going forward. And it doesn't get any easier this week with Miami.
Well, financially, let's all be honest too. Like Rusty asked the question, could they start 1-5? Sure they could. We talked about their upcoming schedule recently, and their next 4 games are by no means easy, starting with this one against Miami, which Blaine's done the preview on, and as you'll see.
They're a 5.5-point favorite. Like,
I don't get that. I wouldn't.
Miami
That's a lot of
straight
points.
up.
So, but I mean, yeah, look, what's the number on Jimbo? It would be like 85 million. Is that what it would be? I think. In terms
90
of
is the one I heard today. I mean,
well, yeah,
I'm
85, 90
guessing
million.
if there were parting, it would be something south of that. But
Yeah. So that's a lot of money. But it's just, I think it's just what a situation this is, right? But I think his agent is Jimmy Sexton, right? So let's all be honest. Like there's going to be something where he would get even more than probably the 85 or 90 million if they decided to fire him. So it would just be. But then again, we're way early on this conversation. But yeah. So
how much of SEC Nation is staying awake to watch that one? That's a 9 Eastern kickoff.
oh, a lot of people if their team did well,
especially if
during the
that
day.
one goes poorly for
I
A&M.
mean, that thing's gonna be. I think that's gonna be one of the most. You got an iconic brand. Say what you want about the performance of an iconic brand in Miami, and then somebody who, was preseason AP top 5 or whatever they were coming in with Texas A&M. I think just the casual football fan is going to be attracted to this one, especially even I think the App State adds even a little bit more intrigue to this because it's like watching a train wreck. You can't look away, So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Tyler Van Dyke versus that Aggie defense is. That sounds like a sitcom name. So you got Tyler Van Dyke going in there at 9:00 over there against the College Station, Texas A&M defense. But man, that is an intriguing matchup to me because a lot of people are talking about Tyler Van Dyke, and he's put the track record out there. He's a talented quarterback and can really spin it. So they've got a really good defense. It wasn't the defense's fault that Texas A&M lost last week for sure. I mean, they're still pretty strong on that defensive side. So I'm excited to see that matchup.
Okay, you could pick a winner straight up, Auburn or A&M. Who are you going with?
This week, I would feel much better going with Auburn. In fact, I did pick Auburn to win.
And Auburn is the 3.5-point underdog. A&M would be the 5.5-point favorite.
I think Vegas must have got their SEC West teams switched or something. I don't know. I feel like that could be. It could be opposite, but Auburn, I think fell victim to. This is a smaller team. This is we got a big game next week, and there was maybe not the maturity there on that roster to be able to handle that situation. But it's just something about I've seen it too many times. Look at Alabama, Auburn last year. Auburn had no business even being in that game. They should have beat Alabama last year. It's something about Jordan-Hare Stadium in big games. That Auburn team gets up for those big games. So I think that's going to be an intriguing one in my mind. I know y'all aren't as high on Auburn after that abysmal performance that they had last week.
Well, I'm not. It's going to be hard for me to jump on teams that I don't think have quarterback play. And
what are you talking about?
With that, I'm going to ask. Yeah, well,
Chris, they don't just have one; they have multiple.
Them?
Come on,
that's right. I guess I've totally missed the point here. Okay, volume aside,
quarterback play
details, Chris.
No, I should have thrown in quality. Yeah, that's true. Okay, best hope of finding a functional quarterback, Auburn or A&M. I think it's A&M. Because I think maybe you just have to go to Max Johnson and get it done with.
That's true. But Blake, I mean, do you think, if Max Johnson was looking really good at practice at this point, wouldn't Jimbo already have put him in?
Why would you not, right? So
he didn't come out this week on his press conference. He didn't come out and say, he came out and defended Haynes King and made almost some kind of excuses for him. Now I know part of that's you're his coach and you don't want to throw him under the bus and all that kind of stuff. But man, I would definitely have been a little bit more open about, we're definitely going to take a look at this than Jimbo was.
Okay, let's be honest. This is I want to ask. Sorry, Blake. I'm going to ask this and then I'll let you talk for a second. Because I think this is, I don't know if this is pertinent or this is a shot in the dark here, but I mean, this is the era of NIL and transfer portal. You don't know what promises may or may not have been made to kids. And I just wonder, Blayne, you say it's easy, just make the call and go. Do we know it is? I mean, maybe I am
Well, Blake,
shooting in the dark here. I could be, but I'm just asking.
Blake, what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, they did bring Max Johnson in via the transfer portal this year. I mean,
I'm kind of leaning what you said, Blayne. I feel like it's a situation where it's here's the thing, like, and that's the thing is like for Jimbo that again, we just talked about like the financial part of this. Like he understands probably like he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Because the money's too high. And I think when you look at this kind of the setup now, as we've said before, and I mean, I'm gonna repeat it because we're still kind of in this range of what we've been talking about, but like these next 4 games, like this is I mean, this is like to the point to where, like we said, Rusty asked the question earlier, could they be 1-5? Yes. Like they could be 1-5. And like that's not being ridiculous. That is, and that's not like even being negative towards A&M. It's because the quality of the competition they're going to be playing. So no matter what the quarterback situation looks like plain and simple, it has to be better because these next 4 games, they are in a situation where if it's not better, and they're not better in other areas too, I mean, guys, it is like a realistic possibility they can lose all of these games. Now, if you're putting a percentage on that, the percentage of them losing all 4 of those, I don't know that I would go too high on that just because you just assume they're going to find a way to win some of these and they do have a lot of talent. But on paper, if you're looking at the teams they're playing, those teams are playing better than they are right now.
Yeah.
So that's the only issue I think for A&M now as you move forward. So
the good news for them is their defense is very, very good, and they have a lot of dynamic
talent.
young talent, especially up front. They've got experience in the secondary, but the thing about it is the offense is literally such a detriment. Like they played 38 snaps on offense in that game. I've never seen that.
Chris was wowed by that.
Low a number. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then two, you know, they failed to get either 100 yards rushing or 100 yards passing in offense in that game. Texas A&M did. So the fact that Vegas thinks that that's going to cure itself in 1 week and to the tune of almost being a touchdown favorite over a Miami team that I argue if you put Southern Miss and App State on a neutral field, I think Vegas is going to think that's a very close game spread wise one way or another. So I am totally perplexed by the line there on that one. And like you said, Chris, I think Miami is going to make things worse for Texas A&M before they get better.
Well, Jimbo Fisher did bring up the subject of him perhaps abandoning his role as a play caller, which I was listening to a little Sirius XM this week, and one of his former players, I don't remember who it was, just was stunned that he was even willing to go there.
I mean, isn't that kind of like, shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic? Isn't that what that's like when you start talking?
Well, maybe. I mean, you have to do something, right?
Yeah, change your quarterback. that's the first step. You don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna give up the play calling duties." You say, "Hey, the guy that missed the wide open slant in the fourth quarter that he would have bumped his head on the goalpost and won the game for you." That's what you change, I think, in my opinion.
This week, I think, is a situation where if it's going bad early, and let's say Miami gets up double digits, the first half, something like that, like they're at home. Like the pressure is going to, I think it's going to, put them in a situation where they're going to have to do something different. Like you said, Blayne, like they've got to do something different. And if it's not working early on, and again, Miami's a very quality team. So I think there comes a point where your hand is forced. And I think this is, again, knowing that you're staring down the possibility of not just 1 and 2, but knowing what the schedule's like after this Miami game, like you got to figure it out. Before I flip it to Chris here, I'm just going to say Arkansas, because I think we're contractually obligated in the first 15 minutes to at least mention the word Arkansas somewhere. So I don't think we've done that yet. So Arkansas fans, we got in right before the 15-minute mark. So you're welcome.
We do have to talk about, Petrino coming back. I know y'all have covered that, of course, in your But I mean, that's really the most intrigue that there's going to be in this. Arkansas should dominate this game. Missouri State physically, who knows? Schematic wise, maybe Petrino's still got some magic. He may get him for a big play at some point. But I think that's just going to be a nice little tune up for the next SEC opponent for Arkansas.
Which would be
Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there you go.
That's right, the Arlington game.
Yeah.
All right, what's the early line if we were picking
I've
A&M?
I've already seen it.
Oh,
what do you
let me.
Thanks, Rusty, for reviewing the contract.
I'm gonna guess Arkansas in 7.
What do you think the line is right now that FanDuel has out, Blake? If you had to guess on that Arkansas Texas A&M game,
Arkansas, I'm going to say either 3.5 or 5.5.
Arkansas -1.5.
What?
So,
well, I would bet on that right this second.
So that's what I don't understand is they're making them. Vegas is making it's like I don't know Vegas.
It's like they haven't caught up yet to
Yeah.
A&M, and I think again we see that though every year, guys. Like there are teams out there, and this is honestly I'll say this for like college basketball because I think it's more true in basketball where you have a lot of like you don't see a lot of those teams in like the lower conferences play. It takes a month sometimes for like the actual like Vegas odds to catch up to what you're seeing from teams. And like there are a lot of people I know that make a ton of money in the first month of college basketball season because they haven't caught up yet because they haven't been able to, or they haven't been able to, they just haven't like went as deep enough to kind of understand where things are at. So maybe that's the case with them. I don't know. I'm with you. It's not look good. So
Yeah, Michael, yeah, to say that.
well, I mean,
oil money. They're going to lose some of that oil money over there. Betting on the Aggies for sure. But speaking of spreads though, I do like this one. It's interesting to me. Penn State 3.5. The over under is intriguing to me at 48.5 because I think they know both of those defenses are going to play pretty well.
yeah.
The guys. I mean, we kind of started in on this one a little bit. With the quarterback play situation, and then it wound our way back to Texas A&M. But Chris, is that the biggest hurdle, do you think, to Auburn in this? Because overall, I don't think Auburn's, they can run the football. They got a stout defense. If they can get any kind of quarterback play, if Ryan Harsin, who's supposed to be a quarterback guy, can get TJ Finley to step up a little bit in this game, I think that line may be a little too skewed towards Penn State.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if I were a foot taller, I might have played center in the SEC. That'd be, yeah. I mean, yes. I don't mean to make fun
I don't
of
think
Blayne.
you would have, Chris.
That's probably not, but maybe in an Uncle Rico kind of way. But no, I mean but in all seriousness, that's my objection all along. I don't like teams that don't have good quarterback play. I watched a decent amount of that San Jose State game. I don't know. Maybe they just need to go with Robbie Ashford and let it ride, whatever that looks like. Penn State just can throw the ball better. James Franklin has played in these environments before. If Auburn had a quarterback, my opinion of Auburn would be a lot different. But it is what it is, and I saw them struggle for a good half, and it's not like they were lights out in the second half against San Jose. Where do we have San Jose State this week in our power composite? I'm going to look that up.
Low.
I think it's around 100. It is 102. So they couldn't beat the 102nd best team in America at home without a struggle. I get everybody's excited about Auburn's defense, but I mean, it better be 2021 Georgia at the rate they're not throwing the ball.
I mean, you're correct, but I still think that Tank Bigsby, Jarquez Hunter, there's enough around the both Johnson and Johnson over there at receiver, Malcolm and Javarian. I think having those kind of playmakers, if Brian Harsin can just manufacture, move the pocket a little bit, make some easy throws here and there, and then sprinkle in some Robbie Ashford on there, I think they could shorten the game enough. And let's not act like Sean Clifford is not prone to turn the ball over as well. He's not been some juggernaut over there. He's just kind of hung around. In fact, Penn State fans were groaning when he decided that he was coming back for another year. They were like, no, because they all wanted to see, the shiny new toy and Drew Aller play, the 5-star come in there. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Drew Aller play in this game, by the way, because Sean Clifford is held together by paper clips and bubble gum. That guy gets knocked out of every game that he plays. He's been banged up. He's played a lot of football. He's a gutsy guy, but man, he gets banged up. And Derek Hall, Wooden over there. You got Owen Papo. That's a physical defense. So we'll see how long he's able to stay in this one.
Maybe they should have set the over-under at like 9 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be. I don't think now they do have Nick Singleton, running back, very good. Parker Washington, Mitchell Tinsley, but Nehemiah Pritchett's a very good corner for Auburn. So I think it's wherever Penn State has a plus, I think that Auburn has one to kind of combat it, but it's at that quarterback, and you got to see if TJ Finley can play a little bit better. So.
Blake, where are you on this one?
I'll tell you where I'm at. I am in the super chats, because if you want to leave us a nice super chat, you can hit that little $sign down there, and you can. Chris, this is like my go-to spot now.
It is.
Yes, it just you leave
You're
us
just
a nice,
sitting on this.
You can leave us $1. You can leave us a penny. You can leave us $1 million. However much you want to leave us, it's perfectly fine. Donations, they just go to us being able to make more videos. So we always say that in these live streams. We appreciate all the great super chats we've had throughout the season thus far. So, we appreciate all the support from you guys. And also, as Chris said earlier, check out Stakes. The link is in there. It's also in the description. Sign up there. A lot of great stuff on there to get you ready for the weekend. And you can interact with us and join in on all the questions. And, lots of fun. So there you go, Chris. You're welcome. Back to the football.
We
Tennessee
haven't even
minus
talked.
50.
Yeah, there's that. I was going to say that maybe there were 3 candidates for the most interesting game of the week. We've talked of 2 of them. The other one we haven't even hinted at. That's Mississippi State at LSU.
Yeah. Well,
State was
subtly hinted.
Yeah, there you go. And State was very uneven a year ago. I mean, you just did not know week to week what you're going to get. My hypothesis has been that this is going to be different, that they're a year older, veteran quarterback, probably as much returning experience as anybody in the league. That is going to get tested in Baton Rouge.
2.5-point favorite in Death Valley. That alone, to me, justifies the hiring of Mike Leach from Mississippi State. The fact that you've worked yourself into a point where you can be a 2.5-point. I don't care how inconsistent LSU is. The fact that Mississippi State can be favored by 2.5 going to LSU in a pseudo night game. It's 5:00 Central, kickoff time over there. That's impressive to me. And the last time they played in Baton Rouge, absolute blitzkrieg over there from Mississippi State. They had a quarterback that I don't even remember his name, because like 2 games after that, it was terrible, but he threw for like 7 game to open up.
That was the opener of 2020.
Yeah, defending
the kid that transferred from Stanford, and he never did a thing again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was awful after that, but man, he lit him up like a Christmas tree that game, and it's going to be interesting. Will Rogers, guys, I don't think it's hyperbole to say he's right up there in terms of how he plays inside this offense with Hendon Hooker, Bryce Young, all that kind of stuff in terms of his production.
Thank you, Michael. Michael had it. I'd completely forgotten about that game until just now. Yeah, that was like that might be the most random thing that's ever happened in an SEC game.
Well, they stayed in man-to-man press coverage the entire time, refused to play zone and take away the deep ball from them, and KJ Costello just kept winning, seeing guys hit one-on-one matchups and just kept hitting them. So the next year, what did LSU do? They said, okay, we're going to play zone, and they did, and they shut Mississippi State down.
And that's with Ricks and Stingley playing corner, right? Those guys were both there then.
Yeah, for sure.
How does that even happen?
Don't know. That was tough. Blake, what do you think about the Bulldogs, Mississippi State heading into Death Valley this week?
I have been all over Mississippi State -2.5 since it began, guys. I think it should be at least 3 on this one in their favor. So if it stays at that 2.5, I'm all over it. I just think they're the better team. But again, we always say road games, there are elements that kind of come in there and you don't know. And I've said it many times. Like I don't have a great read on LSU yet. Why? Because they played Florida State, did not look great in that one. Talked about just all the mistakes. That's a game one type thing. But then they play Southern, and what do I learn from a 65-17, a game that was 37-0 in the first quarter? There's not a lot to take away from that. But I just think Mississippi State's a better team. I think they'll be the better team, barring significant injuries by the end of the season. But I think even right now they still are. So yeah, I'm like you guys said. I think it's the Mike Leach special here, perhaps, where I just think there's a lot of things they'll be able to do offensively to exploit some of the things with LSU's defense. And we've talked about it, Chris. Just Mississippi State's defense can be really, really good. And I think this can be a game where they can cause some of those issues against a team that I think is still trying to find its footing, certainly offensively. Again, I know they scored 65 points last week, but I just think we gotta there's only so much we can take away from that. So
they scored 65 points against a team that the band was the highlight of the evening. So that tells you what you're seeing there. But what I'm the headline in the middle right there, LSU handling adversity. That's what I want to see, because they did not handle adversity very well in that beginning game. Now, I will give credit to Jaden Daniels. He took them on a 99-yard drive, I believe, at the end of that game, and should have tied it up if their wing on the left-hand side of their extra point team doesn't step out instead of in, which is ridiculous that a college wing back would do that on an extra point, that literally middle school teams know how to do that as well. So I want to see how they handle adversity, because we already saw, Chris, we saw Keishon Butte, Malik Neighbors, all those guys get ticked off and do the label of this generation does, and delete everything off their Instagram from their team, basically say, I hate you right now to them. And I don't know how bought in they are to Brian Kelly at this point.
Well, that's what I do when I get mad at Chris, by the way. I just remove Chris from all the Southeastern 14 stuff from my social media. So
that could be a good strategy. I mean, you and I both hate social media anyway, but I think we both removed ourselves from social media for the most part.
But we don't hate, Chris? All the people in the chat right now, because they are fantastic. And if you have any questions, any of that stuff, get them on in. But yes, we always appreciate the great feedback. A lot of great comments. We're putting them up there. A lot of people high on Mississippi State, which
hit the like button. Hit the like button while you're in here.
Too. Yeah.
The entire Harrison family's here again tonight, as always.
See, here's what happened with the Harrison family. Meant to say that Blayne was right about something, but he said me, so we're going to put that one on the screen. And all right, fine. We'll give Blayne the asterisk there. But what about Georgia, South Carolina? We haven't talked about that one yet. I think most people expect Georgia to take care of business here, but I think that's one that it's an SEC game. And I mean, look, to me, guys, it's like we said, we've seen what Georgia's done thus far, and I think the whole question is about giving up a touchdown, right? Are they going to let anybody kind of score a touchdown? Is it going to be South Carolina? That was one of the questions I think we had. That should be on stakes. We should put that one on there somewhere. When Georgia give up a touchdown. But I think South Carolina's offense is still a work in progress. I think Rattler did some better things against Arkansas. It wasn't perfect, but this is Georgia too, and I don't like the matchup for the Gamecocks.
I would have liked it better for South Carolina, honestly, but Jordan Strachan and Mohamed Kaba are out. They're at defensive end, linebacker, starters on that defensive side. They already, even with those two, had given up 200 yards rushing to Georgia State, 295 yards rushing to Arkansas. I think Georgia gets those backs, Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton, really get going, get them going downhill this game, and I think Georgia's offensive line just kind of leans on South Carolina in this one.
Blayne, what's your impression of Spencer Rattler a couple of games in at Carolina?
He's got talent, extremely talented, but he's very inconsistent, and he hasn't been protected that well at all. So, I mean, when you're not being protected well, and you're starting to force some things, then that's tough. But I mean, they just they a little too late against Arkansas. They tried to claw back into that one, but realistically, that game was more Arkansas controlled that game more than even the score indicated, in my opinion, because they just physically imposed their will on them, and I think you're going to see Georgia do similar. But I think Spencer Rattler's just not. I think Spencer Rattler's just not consistent enough.
We're laughing at the chat here.
The Sir Chris.
Blayne missed all the fun the other night.
Harrison family is just coming through with a super chat yet again, like the MVP of the super chats thus far. We appreciate the entire family. And the discussion was Chris, as we always say, is connected to literally everyone on the universe. Little did we know that Chris has a connection to the late Queen Elizabeth. And so we went through the story of that. And Blayne, here's the story. Chris is pretty much royalty. So we're going to start calling him Sir Chris.
That close.
And when we start our merchandise line, we're going to have our first shirt that's going to say Sir Chris Lee on the front of it. And everyone's going to be wearing it. So this is what all the super chats are for, to help us fund our Sir Chris Lee clothing line.
We just have Chris's silhouette with a crown on top of it, that kind of thing.
Fifth in the line.
I'm sure that'll.
Throne. I think the Harrison family's got it.
People will line up to buy those, right?
Harrison family's been on Ancestry.com. We need to get some kind of affiliate program with them.
He's the Duke of Brentwood.
So if anyone wants to call out Chris's opinions, remember that you're dealing with royalty here, and so just keep that in mind.
The Duke of the Gulch, Chris Lee over there,
almost royalty.
Before you tell him to take his crown and shove it, just keep that in mind. So, Sir Chris Lee, what do you think about this 24.5? Because it was brought up by Eric in the. I agree, like a road game, but you know what?
Yeah.
I mean, Blayne, we talked about it too. Like Georgia's just, they're on another level.
I picked South Carolina to cover by a half point by the hook. I said, I'll throw the score up. I said 41-17 was what I ended up, and I think it's because, like I said, Georgia's secondary, I think it's so experienced that I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to be able to keep, South Carolina in it throwing the ball. They don't run the ball extremely well right now. That offensive line's been struggling, but I think Georgia's going to kind of control the game running, and that's going to shorten the game. So they may not be able to score enough points to cover it, so.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my Phil Steele
Crown?
with some series history. Oh. that too.
Oh, series. It's right here.
Well, I mean, I think Carolina has been
Georgia's
pretty tough in this series, has it not?
Well, Georgia's in the Kirby era. They're 6-1 in the Kirby, and the only win is 2019 where they upset them at home. But all time Georgia 53-19-2. The most success came for South Carolina, and I had that wrong. 0-2. They're not 0-2, but it's basically like 0-2 with Georgia State. Playing up to the wire over there, but they're 1-1. But the most success for South Carolina came in the Connor Shaw era over there. Steve Spurrier. Yeah, Steve Spurrier had the great line. They asked him, what he thought about playing Georgia every game second, and he said, I like it. They typically got 4 or 5 suspended early on in the year over there. So that's what that was back under the Richt era when guys got suspended at Georgia. That magically doesn't happen anymore. It's kind of a Saban-esque type thing with Kirby over
funny. There. We need to get Steve Spurrier on the Wednesday Night Live. That would be phenomenal. I miss him.
We'd have to have the Harrison family provide a lot more super chats so we could pay his.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go. There's a great transition there for Blayne. If you want Steve Spurrier to come on the live stream every Wednesday night, then really be sending in those super chats. You think I'm pushing it right now? Wait till we get Spurrier on the hook. I'm gonna be like sweating over here trying to figure out how we're gonna pay for this appearance. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay, Blayne, I asked Blake this on Saturday on one of our live streams. How many schools in the league feel great about their quarterback situation, and how many are just in a panic, and how many are just in between? Because I think you've got some pretty good disparity of quarterback situations across the league here.
Are you talking about just for this year? Or are you talking about quarterback depth for the entire room?
I'm talking about, like, how do you feel at your quarterback position right now? Like, okay, Alabama's not worth talking about. They've got the Heisman winner. Georgia with Stetson Bennett, I mean, looks great. They're talking about him as a Heisman winner. Hendon Hooker, superstar. KJ Jefferson, star/superstar, whatever label you want to put on him.
Will Levis.
Will Rogers. Will Levis. That's what, half the league. But then the other half, I mean, it's a mixed bag or not very pretty picture in some places.
No, I agree. I tell you one thing, I've seen him play in person in high school, the kid I'm about to talk about, and came in and did some good things for Vandy last week. And I know it's Vandy, but I think if they did switch to AJ Swan, I think Vandy could feel good about their quarterback situation. I really believe in AJ Swan, because he was a guy that just vaulted up recruiting rankings with his performance his senior year at Cherokee High School over here in Georgia. And any Vandy listeners out there, I'm telling you, if Clark Lee ends up pulling the trigger on that at some point in the year, I'd look for some added production out of that quarterback position, because I think AJ Swan is going to be really good. Of course, Anthony Richardson at Florida, it's been a mixed bag so far. Unbelievable athlete. But I think in that South Florida game, what you need to see from him, if you're a Florida fan, is you want to see 75, 80% pass completion in that game. Just prove that you can be efficient with the football, and then let those talented running backs run. I mean, I know that he needs to run at given times and make those spectacular plays, but they've got enough production with Etienne and Montrell Johnson there at running back. He needs to develop as a passer for Florida to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, Chris. I mean, we said that's what we wanted to see out of Anthony Richardson in that game. I mean, we said, look, Florida should win this game convincingly, but the biggest thing you're watching in this one is Anthony Richardson, and really, you're watching things as simple as form and those kind of things. Like, that's what you want to see. And we talked about the efficiency has to be better, knowing that what you saw last week, you're going to see a lot of that in the SEC this season. You're going to see defenses that are that good or better, and you just kind of know what you're going to get out of that. So I think it's going to be kind of fascinating to see what we get out of him. But we said, I mean, Chris, there's a clear divide. Like, there is a clear line where either there are teams that have it completely figured out and they have no worries at the quarterback position, or it looks like on the other side, it's we better figure this out quick, or our season could be heading in the wrong direction fast. And I think that's where several of these teams sit right now. So
let's make everybody. Let's rank them. Let's rank the
right. Well, all
right. KJ Jefferson's number one. Arkansas. Who's the backup for Arkansas? He's number two.
Malik Horton.
Yes, that's right. He's number two, and whoever else, whoever's the next recruit coming in is okay. Number three. So, by the way, if you're just joining the chat, we're doing this because we have fun with Arkansas fans who have been loyal to us from the beginning. So we're joking here, but hey, put them in the conversation.
I want to ask you guys something on quarterbacks. You hear the term X factor thrown around, right? X factor is X is a variable meaning that there's all kinds of ranges of outcome. Is there a bigger X factor in the league than Anthony Richardson? I mean, the ranges of potential outcome with him this year and what that would mean for Florida. I cannot think of a guy that's got a bigger range of outcomes, with that range of outcomes influencing what his team does any more than Anthony Richardson? Is there
sorry.
a bigger one in the league?
I'm not laughing at Anthony Richardson here. I'm
Whoa,
laughing at Rusty
Rusty, that's
Richardson.
good.
Rusty, are you related to Anthony Richardson? But he gets his name on the drawbridge here. So Rusty, we appreciate the $10 super chat. Fantastic stuff. And this is Sir Chris Lee is just making us a lot of money right now. So
if we raise enough, we'll buy a moat and we'll throw Jimbo Fisher in it.
Oh
no.
my goodness!
No!
It's I'm telling you, you're right about Anthony Richardson though. I mean, it's the good's going to be really really good, but that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason I said Kentucky's going to beat them, because I knew once they faced SEC caliber speed and they faced the disguising of coverages that Mark Stoops is able to do, that he was going to struggle. And you know, Kentucky did that to him. They frustrated him, turned him over. So,
well, you guys are leaving some comments right now that are just, you guys are on, you're raising it up to like Sir Chris Lee's level over here. So, yikes.
Oh,
I'm not
that was
related.
great.
We can confirm through Rusty, Ancestry.com, they are not related. So
Rusty just gave the Bill Clinton. I did not have relations.
I am not
related to Anthony Richardson.
Listen, Rusty. I mean, if he guy's off going to the NFL, if he wants to be in a high draft pick, then I'd like to be related, maybe somehow. We'll see.
I think Anthony went by Rusty last week.
Maybe.
Arm was a little rusty.
What else we got?
Did y'all see the picture of Haynes King holding the ball up like this before he throws the football? I mean, he's just getting eviscerated. Like his arm was straight up before he released the football. Like not even in the power L, nice position, that the slot that you want. It was like this, and I'm like, no wonder the dude looks like he's shooting it out of a potato gun instead of his arm over there. Like it is weird, weird throwing motion. On the opposite hand, man, Will Levis has a pretty throwing motion. I know that he's kind of a rugged quarterback, but man, from seeding the ball to release, there's nobody that has a better one than Will Levis. That's one reason NFL scouts are all over him, because the mechanics are there.
Okay, quarterback rankings. You've got to start with the reigning Heisman winner. 2, I think you go Hendon Hooker.
I'm going Stetson Bennett.
I'm going Stetson Bennett too. I'm just like the guy is one. I think we're way past the point of everybody talking about Stetson Bennett like he is just the, I don't know, like I know their roster was good, but I think we got to give the guy some credit at some point.
Jim Nagy is the
how's Hendon Hooker do at Georgia?
Well,
are they better or worse?
I don't know, because I don't think Hendon Hooker's the not kind of fit that Georgia needs in that offense. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's a little bit different, but Jim Nagy, who's the senior director for this, or the director of operations, whatever he is, he's the head nacho, as my a friend used to say one time instead of head honcho. He's the head nacho over there at the Senior Bowl, and he put out a tweet saying, "Listen, people need to understand that NFL scouts are calling me now asking about Stetson Bennett as a quarterback in the NFL." So that is perfect, Eric. Haynes King does look like he's throwing.
I hope Haynes King comes out and has a big game this week. We gotta get you guys back on the bandwagon here.
I fell
not
off
that I'm on there right now, but
Haynes King's going to throw for 400, and TJ Finley's going to throw for 300, and we'll have to have an emergency show.
Listen, A&M getting back on track would be good for the SEC.
It would be great
for Arkansas, who's going to play them the following week, because otherwise you're taking a team out of the equation that could really, give you a nice boost. So
here's the thing on that though. If you're Arkansas, what you want to see this week is you want to see Miami jump out to that 10-point lead, because you want to see Jimbo Fisher have to put Max Johnson in so that you get some film on him playing this week. You don't want, as good as Barry Odom is as the defensive coordinator, you want to see, okay, let's look at how they break tendencies, how they do different things that go from a right-handed quarterback to a left-handed quarterback. There's a lot of variables there that you want to see on tape from a schematic point of view. So that's what Arkansas fans, you ought to be rooting for Miami to jump up early in that one, and Haynes King to throw like a pick six or something, so Max Johnson gets thrown in there, because that gives us a little bit of a preparation advantage to Arkansas.
So you guys are going Stetson Bennett too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Hooker. So you guys, I presume, would have Hooker as your 3. I'd probably put Bennett as my 3. Then I'd probably go KJ Jefferson, and then Will Rogers. I mean, this is a great. These are really good quarterbacks, guys.
I'm going,
and then we'll get Will Levis too.
I'd have a hard time leaving Levis, but it's like, but you're pointing out a good point, Chris. It's like, well, if you're going to move him up, you got to put him ahead of somebody, and it's a really good group to choose from. Let's all put it that way. Like, I think was it top 6? Is that what we kind of, or is there someone who was the other one we haven't named yet?
I think there's a clear top 6 at this point, is there not? I mean, if we consider Anthony Richardson, last week being indicative of part of what he is, which I think you have to at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would probably go Richardson 7 just on the upside.
I
don't think there's anybody else that crashes the top 6s there. Have I missed anyone?
Here's why I'm not putting Hendon Hooker at 2 or 3. I'm probably putting Will Levis and KJ Jefferson over Hendon Hooker, because what did Hendon Hooker do at West Virginia, or at Virginia Tech? He was 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions one year. I think it's the system at Tennessee that is making Hendon Hooker look so good. I think you put Hendon Hooker somewhere else, I don't know if he's as good. That's my opinion.
I still go on what he did. I mean, and granted, look, he's 24 now. So he gets a little bit of an advantage by, having a couple more years to work through whatever and mature as a quarterback. But I'm just saying, if you had to take the field right now,
Stetson Bennett
was a guy to win you a game.
Stetson Bennett is 25 years old. Seriously.
Is he really?
Yeah.
And he didn't even take an LDS mission.
He's been in college 7 years.
I had a roommate who was in college for 13.
Close to it. I mean,
so Stetson's halfway there.
Was that the college of like Cambridge or?
He'll turn 25 years old.
No, this was private school. I don't think his parents were very happy.
Stetson Bennett is 24 years old. He will turn 25 on October 28th.
Man.
Nice.
I agree.
So we got it. However we want to dice it up, we've got a top 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richardson's kind of your 7 sitting there. We don't know what that's going to look like. We've seen outstanding. We've seen awful. And then we go where?
We're stopping.
I guess whoever wins at Ole Miss.
Well, Jaden.
We don't know what Ole Miss has.
Jaden
Daniels. Well, and Spencer Rattler. I mean,
but here's where do we put, like, that's fine, guys, but like, where do we rank them? Because I don't have enough of a sample size on the rest of these guys to feel strongly about putting any of them in any order in terms of, like, I don't know. I guess we could really knock a guy and feel like we know who's last, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I think this next group I couldn't tell you.
And then you got to make the argument, okay, is Will Rogers going to be what Will Rogers is now in the NFL, or is he just, kind of like a lot of those Texas Tech quarterbacks of the Leach era, has great college numbers? Is he, is he that great a college NFL quarterback? So we'll see. Yeah, doctors for sure.
Stetson Bennett. So
if we're going to go last,
I'm not. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I think I don't know. I feel like
I just think Missouri. I think Missouri's quarterback situation is the worst in the league. But
Missouri or Vandy. Mike Wright had an awful week, but I'm with you. I think AJ Swan is going to be their guy before the end of the year. Here's Vandy's deal: is that they go to Northern Illinois this week. They can win.
They're the 2.5-point underdog on the road.
I'll tell you what, I like Vandy to win that one outright.
Yeah.
I think Vandy's got improved athleticism, and that's not you guys have heard me. I've been to that. I was at that stadium a year ago. It is hardly an intimidating environment.
Dr. Bennett.
In Northern Illinois. But I think here's Vandy's deal. Okay, I think they can win with Mike Wright Saturday at Northern Illinois. But then they go Alabama off week, Ole Miss at Georgia. I don't know that you want to throw A.J. Swan into starting at Alabama or Georgia. So they may have to ride out Mike Wright. Now, somebody may break Mike Wright in half between now and then.
Yeah.
Because he is skinny, and he's probably going to take some hits between Will Anderson and Georgia, and probably Ole Miss too. So I would not be surprised October 22nd if A.J. Swan is Vandy's starter heading into that Missouri game. So
I'm glad off week last. He's Vandy get beat by the off week. Man.
Hey, let's roll through some questions here quickly because we want to make sure we get some of these in. Corey asked earlier, Mississippi State not getting enough credit. I think, Corey, we talked about it a little bit earlier on. I'm on the Mississippi State wins at LSU bandwagon. Chris has been on the Mississippi State bandwagon from the very start. We give them a lot of credit. I don't know how much credit they get elsewhere, but I think we're kind of all in at this point, aren't we, Chris, on Mississippi State?
Yeah.
So
I think State's got a case, fourth or fifth best team in the league. When I did mine, I had State over Kentucky this week. I'm in the minority there, but I've been on that train since preseason, and I'm not going to get off unless they give me a reason to.
Here's a good question. And I know there's no way to know the answer to this yet, but like in the West, I think we said coming into the season, it would be, if you placed a bet on what the 1 through 7 order would be in the West, good luck, because I don't think you would have gotten the order of finish probably by season's end. But I think we're seeing some separation, right, Blayne? Like we're starting to feel like there are some tiers, at least in the West, to have a better idea.
Do we know what time the Arkansas-Alabama game is going to be? Have they announced the time for that one yet? Like, what is it going to be, the 3:30 game? Or
no, they have not. The only thing they've announced for that week is that Eastern Washington and Florida will be on the plus at noon Eastern. Everything else, and I checked this afternoon, is still open to deciding.
I think Arkansas's got. I would, if you're Arkansas, I think you hope that game is a noon game, 11 o'clock kickoff, and because Alabama doesn't fare well on the road, they don't fare well typically in those early games, and I think Arkansas would have a real chance to be able to hit them in the mouth early, and then see if Alabama could pull the Houdini act like they did against Texas there at the end. So that's intriguing, but I think it's definitely becoming Arkansas and Alabama as the top two in the SEC West, and then like you said, Mississippi State making a push for things. Ole Miss is such a wild card; it's hard to tell. So,
honest to God, I have my opinions on the West. I think I've got a better shot of just picking. I mean, Alabama's still your one. I think Alabama gets beat by somebody this year. I don't know that I'd pick them to lose a game to anybody, but Nick Saban's teams, more often than not, even his great ones, lose one somewhere to somebody. I think it probably happens. What's that?
At DWR this year. That's
well, could be that. Could be Knoxville. Could be a lot of places. But I'm honest to God, you could almost pick names out of a hat.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
and get it more right than I might, but.
Tell you who I was impressed with Arkansas defensively was Drew Sanders. Boy, he's impressive. Linebacker, man, flying around, making plays. They stay healthy with him, and I know they lost Catalan, but they sure up that safety position in the back, man. I like Arkansas on defense a lot.
Blake, what questions have we missed here? Throw some up.
We've gotten to most of them. Again, guys, send in your questions here. We're probably going to hop off in the next 5-10 minutes, something like that. So send anything else in you want us to kind of talk about. And again, if you're just hopping on now, probably the best advice we could say would be to go back and start from the beginning once this finishes, because we've covered a lot of ground here over the past hour. So we've talked about most of the games that are, again, worth talking about. And that's not a knock on some of the others, but that's just, the games that most people are going to have their attention on. So,
we hadn't talked about Ole Miss and Georgia Tech.
Yes,
like
that's
I said,
where I was
Blayne,
going.
the games that we think are – no, I'm just kidding. I mean, Chris, we did the preview. I mean, it's a road game, but I don't know. I mean, Georgia Tech, we talked about their passing offense is just –
Yeah.
But we don't know what to make of Ole Miss either. Like, their passing
Their
offense
hasn't been very good.
Well,
I feel like Ole Miss has got more possibility of finding an offensive answer, and Ole Miss's defense has been very good. We've talked about constantly how they got better a year ago, second half. And again, not much of a schedule, but you can only do what's asked of you for what's in front of you. I think I've been pleased with what Ole Miss has done on that side of the ball. We talked about this. We like the under in that game.
Yeah,
what is it, 50 so. What?
I'll look it up. I'll find it.
Oh, it was 59.5. I thought it was a lot lower than that.
And that's the thing is, like, it's a good point from the Harrison family. And I'm going to pull Eric's question up after that. But, like, that's what I keep saying, Chris. If Ole Miss comes out and beats Georgia Tech by 3 touchdowns, I'm sure there'll be some stuff that will stand out. But still, we talked about the schedule. Like, I still don't think we know where Ole Miss will be at, even to that point.
No.
Well, here's what will tell you something. And I know DJ Uiagalelei and Clemson have not been tremendously impressive, with their pass offense and stuff like that. But they do have a lot of talented players. Georgia Tech was able to kind of hold them down for basically 3 quarters. And here's the thing with Ole Miss, they have not had great quarterback play so far, whether it's Jackson Dart in there or Luke Altmaier. Luke Altmaier injured a little bit last week in his first start. If they're able to go over to Georgia Tech and look very efficient through the air like we're accustomed to seeing Lane Kiffin offenses do, I think that bodes well for Ole Miss because Zach Evans, I think, is going to have a huge day against Georgia Tech.
That might be the best running back room in the league, some people think.
Yeah. Some good comments coming in on some of these others. By the way, let's get back to Eric's question real quick. Then we'll grab a couple of you others that you guys have coming in. Again, if you want to leave us a super chat, you can. You guys know I'm going to say that every time, at least 3 times in the live stream to make sure it's there. You hit that little $sign down there. That just gives us, nice little donation. We can make more videos for you guys. So if you're enjoying what we're doing, hit that like button. Leave us a nice super chat. You don't have to go up to Sir Chris Lee's level, royalty, millions and millions of dollars or anything. You can give us a single buck. That would be perfectly fine. So, Sir Chris Lee, let's move on to Eric's question here. Second best team in the East. Now, this is another discussion we've had a lot. You guys know where I stand on this. But Blayne's about to pull up a helmet. It's my guess. And we'll see. I thought he was going to pull up a helmet. I guess he didn't. Oh, there it is. I knew it was coming. I guess I think Tennessee and Kentucky are neck and neck. Right now, you guys know I'm impressed with Tennessee. So, but I think Kentucky,
Tennessee, Kentucky is my order.
Tennessee, Kentucky, I think.
But it's
Kentucky. What I think they'll be able to do is I think they'll be able to control the. I'm not overly impressed with Tennessee's defense. Even still, I know that people. I got to argue with somebody saying, "Oh, well, they allowed other than that one big run that they allowed." I'm like, you can't take away the one big run. That's the problem. Great defenses don't give up the one big run. Like, when do you ever see Georgia and Alabama and those guys give up a big run? They may get burnt on a passing play every once in a while, but gap control defense is a staple for the teams that are going to compete to win the SEC championship and the national championship. Tennessee has not checked those boxes for me yet, and they're going to have to do that against a physical. And I know people say that Kentucky not run the ball. Well, guess what? Chris Rodriguez comes back October 1st against so they're about to start running it a lot better.
That's the one point in Kentucky that gets overlooked is Kentucky has done this without the guy that's probably their MVP. I mean, maybe it's Will Levis, but I mean, when you think Kentucky offense, you think running game. Rodriguez, has put up big numbers there. Did he lead the league in rushing a year ago? If he didn't, he was close. I think he ran for 1,300 yards. And, okay, they go down to Gainesville, and they beat Florida, a very jacked up Florida fan base at night without their bell cow. I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, and two, they want to say, oh, Kentucky still didn't run the football well. I had somebody say to me, I was like, well, did you watch the third quarter and into the fourth quarter when Kentucky needed to? That offensive line started leaning on Kentucky's defensive front, and Cavassier Smoke picking up the yards when he needed to. It seemed like right there late in that game, Kentucky just was like punching Florida right in the nose, and they couldn't do anything about it. They were just going down the field on them, and that was impressive to me. It's not necessarily all the time how efficient you are. It's how efficient are you when you need to be, and that's what Kentucky is.
Missouri's got to do something different soon, right, guys?
Oh, yeah. It didn't look good last week.
Are we talking about starting pitcher for Missouri? Because Sam Horn can
yes. Sam Horn could have been, a second or third round pick in baseball?
Yeah, I cover a lot of high school football here in the state of Georgia. I was shocked that Sam Horn ever made it to the campus at Missouri. I thought he was just going to go play baseball and because I mean he's mid 90s, mid to upper 90s from the mound. I mean it's some serious heat. So
here's a question for you. And I know we don't, they're not to the SEC yet, but I mean, again, we saw them against Alabama, but I think it's an interesting question about Texas and what exactly we think Texas could be this season versus what did that game say maybe about Alabama versus Texas. I think it's an interesting thought.
Opinions on Texas are all over the place. We did our FBS Power Poll thing today, which is where we take 10 sources we like and we average them. Texas wound up 11. CBS and The Athletic both had Texas in the 20s, one at 22, one at 26. Pro Football Focus had them at 28. But you had Jeff Sager had them at 4. Team Rankings had them at 5. FEI had the Longhorns at 7 and Phil Steele at 6. Oh, and ESPN's FBI also at 6. The computers love Texas after that Alabama game.
I can't put them there right now because they don't have Quinn Ewers. If they had Quinn Ewers right now, I could put them there, but they don't have Quinn Ewers. They have Hudson Card, who didn't. I mean, man, if he had that it factor, if he had that moxie, Texas would have won that game. But they didn't, and they largely, faltered in the red zone, did some things like that. So I think quarterback play is hurting them a little bit right there. Even Hudson Card right now is banged up a little bit going in this. So I don't think you can put Texas up there. I also think it was more indicative of Alabama's offensive line woes than it was Texas's stellar defensive front. I think the most talented thing about Texas right now is their offensive skill positions. Their wide receivers, their tight end, and their running back, Bijan Robinson, unbelievable.
By the way, shout out to the new subscribers. If you're a new subscriber,
Thank
let us
you.
know. Let us know in the chat. We do appreciate all you guys, as we said. So if you've jumped in and said, hey, these guys are great, Sir Chris Lee leading the pack here, let us know if you're a new subscriber. And we really do appreciate you guys. So here's a hot take. I don't agree, but Alan, I appreciate you leaving the chat or leaving the feedback.
He's kicking him out. I don't agree, and you.
I know. I'm not kicking you out, Alan. I'm not. This would open up a can of worms if we all went around the table, and although I think it's been answered to a certain degree on maybe who the most overrated quarterback is in the SEC, but interesting discussion. Maybe we should have for another.
That one may have gotten answered on the field last week.
Well, hey, I mean, you gotta.
By the way,
matters.
Speaking of that, because we all know who you're talking about, why is A.R. Richardson or Anthony Richardson? Why is he allowed to wear the number 15? How is that number not retired? How is Tim Tebow's number not retired at Florida? He's the best.
Good question.
In my opinion, Tim Tebow's the best college football player of all time. Like,
I mean, I think you've got a great case. I made that argument to someone else, and a buddy of mine who knows as much football as anybody I know, big SEC fan, and he looked at me like I had a third eye. But like, if you look at resume and what he did, who accomplished more in college than Tim Tebow?
Yeah, I agree. Tim Tebow was great in college. Of course, you could always argue Herschel Walker being up there too. Herschel, unbelievable. Bo Jackson, right up there as well. I mean, there's all kinds of guys like that. But man, I just don't see how his number's not retired. I mean, I know they got him a statue out there, but his number's not retired.
Harrison's family, let me clarify. I don't know that he was the best of all time, but you look at his body of work and what he did. And I mean, he could have won 2 Heismans. He got a national title. I mean, Tim Tebow, I mean, did he have the SEC rushing touchdowns record, or had it at Florida?
I think he had the all-time SEC touchdowns record. I think he had it was the overall yardage leader in his career.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous, the numbers that he put up.
I don't know that I can go best player, because I would think that the best player who's ever played in the SEC, if he's that good, he should have gone to the NFL and did more than he did. But in terms of just what he did at Florida,
things, I mean,
like if you had win shares or wins above replacement for football players, I mean, Tim Tebow's WAR would have been pretty crazy.
Well, give us your opinions real quick. Who in the chat? Who do you think is the best college football player of all time?
By the way,
you cannot call in. We don't have a phone line, but you're welcome to drop a comment or a question in the chat.
Well, hold on a second here, Chris, because before we answer that, we need to do a little investigative work here. Is this Edward Orgeron? Because if it is, you can absolutely call in. We will set something up to where you can call in, and we'll put you on the speaker right now. So
yeah, we'll figure it out. Let's
make that clear. We already got Steve Spurrier talking about. I mean, we talked about him earlier. Let's get Ed Orgeron, Steve Spurrier on here. I'll sit this one out. So
a super chat with Ed Orgeron and Steve
super
Spurrier.
Call. That's it. That's it, Harrison family. I wish we need to find a super call button.
I tell you another player that may want to be mentioned in that category. There's 2 more. Reggie Bush and Ndamukong Suh may be 2 of the better college football players of all time.
I will tick off our audience. Suh should have won the Heisman his last year at Nebraska. And I'll tell you who else. Aaron Donald should have won a Heisman. But we don't give Heismans to defensive players just because we've decided we don't.
The real Edward O.
He says he's the real Edward O.
The real deal.
All right, prove
We're going to find a way. Next Wednesday or this weekend, we do our reaction videos, Edward O. We're going to find a way to set up a call for you. So you got to confirm. We're going to go through. If we don't get,
how do we know you're the real Edward
Chris,
O?
Here you go. If we don't get Ancestry.com as a sponsor now, given how many times I've mentioned them in this 1 hour, something's wrong with us, because I'm trying to prop them up all I can here. Let's run through some of these. We're going to just, kind of stroll through some of these comments, because here's our 2-minute warning here, guys, 2 or 3 minute warning, and we're going to hop off. So anything else, jump on in there with your comments. And like Blayne said, if you have your thoughts, we're seeing some of them there. Herschel Walker's been mentioned, Bo Jackson. Again, another Tebow vote here.
Derek Thomas.
So there's a lot of good players. So
Barry Sanders.
By the way, we do
Darren
McFadden.
Darren McFadden was pretty awesome.
Then again, I'm not gonna I'd have to really look in terms of best all time. But this is a good point. Like, I think it's so easy for us who follow the SEC sometimes. There are so many good players that come through the league. Like, it's almost like eventually it's like, man, there's just so many good players. Like, you can't even remember back far enough to really get a grasp on how good certain guys were. But my goodness, how good was Darren McFadden? Like, he was unreal.
They had a backfield of him, Felix Jones, and who was the other kid who played with the Browns for a bit and was okay? Like, did some stuff in the league.
Peyton Hillis?
Yes, that's the guy.
On the cover of Madden, too.
What?
Yeah, He made the cover of Madden.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
on the Madden
Okay.
cover. So yeah,
Forgot that.
Peyton Hillis. The answer's coming in. Yeah, everybody.
Let's see. Auburn had Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown, and the big kid who played for the Giants all at the same time. I keep forgetting the third guy in the trios here. He was like 260 pounds, and it was a tailback, and played in the NFL for maybe 8 or 9 years. If you say his name, I will know it.
No, I would have to look it up. So, Hog Barbecue, by the way, brings up a good point. On cover Madden immediately got hurt. Madden curse,
Of course,
struck Peyton Hillis and
Jacobs. That's right.
Jacobs, that's it.
Brandon Jacobs.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you want to go way back, Auburn had Lionel James, James Brooks, and William Andrews. If we're doing 3 running back groups, all 3 of those guys, I think, were all pros or made a Pro Bowl.
Clowney was another guy, just skill wise, pretty dominant.
Yeah, I don't know that the production ever caught up with the. But I mean, he was pretty dang good. Yes, Barry Sanders was the best running back who ever lived.
Herschel Walker had something to say about that.
Barry had nothing. I mean, he just made it on his own.
If Herschel doesn't go to the USFL, if he goes to the NFL right out of college, totally different.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll wrap it up with this one. There's a couple people who've asked about the LSU Mississippi State prediction, which I understand because we do have that in the title of this video. We did discuss this earlier on, but we can quickly run through our picks again real quick. I said I'm taking Mississippi State minus 2.5 on that one. I just think right now, from what I've seen, I am really impressed with Mississippi State, and I think it should be a really good game. But if we're talking a field goal game here of 2.5 points, I really like. So, yeah, I don't know. There's something about State thus far that I think they're set up in a good position. So,
I think 31-23 Mississippi State over LSU.
Okay, Will Sample makes my point for me. Yeah, I'm going State. I don't know, 31-24ish.
Okay, well, LSU fans, you've got some ammunition to come back at us with if LSU wins this game. But I don't know. We'll see. I think LSU is going to. We talked about Daniels earlier, and I think they're going to keep getting better. From what I've seen from Mississippi State thus far, there's a lot of things to like. I think about the Bulldogs. So,
okay, here's a good question: who's got a better shot, Will Anderson or Bryce Young, at winning the Heisman? Because you know what voters don't like to do. That's give a guy Heisman a second time. You would have to win it. You'd have to lap the field to get it a second time. Will Anderson might have a better chance of winning it than.
I think he killed his chances this past week by being lined up in the neutral zone.
Probably, but yeah.
Like, does he not know where the ball is? Like, what was going on?
There you go. All right, we got some LSU picks coming in. I'm not surprised. Like I said, this should be a really good game. So,
shout out to our friends at Stakes. Download the Stakes app. That's STAKES. We have created a lot of questions in the app, some much easier than others, as my friend Blake Lovell has noted. But you can create your own. You guys need to get in the app and create your own this week. We need to do some prop bets, maybe some player versus player stuff. Who has more yards of total off? I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can go. Great folks at the Stakes app. They've got a good product. We love it. You guys will love it too. You need to get in there and again, use the promo code. So you get a bonus. You can win NFTs. And again, it costs you nothing.
By the way, guys, the best way you can help us outside of the super chat is to hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. As Chris has said before, I mean, we're almost to 3,000 subscribers here soon. Like, it is just, you guys have been awesome, and we always appreciate the interaction on these live streams and all the videos. So yeah, if you're just seeing us for the first time, you've never seen our videos, what have we got out, guys? 15 plus videos previewing week 3 to this point. So plenty of content for you. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything that we do have on the channel. So
yeah, we just started the channel about a year ago. And yours truly had to take off a couple of months for a health situation. We cover baseball, basketball, and football heavily. So if you like football, you'll love the other ones too.
Blayne,
Good.
any parting thoughts?
Nope. Just don't ever bet against Mark Stoops. Don't call him soft. Kentucky's gonna be 10-2 before the year's over.
You heard it.
So
there.
your final thoughts, Blayne. You're calling Auburn to win outright against Penn State.
Taking them.
Are we all taking Miami? Straight up.
I'm taking Miami plus 5.5 without question.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think is probably one of my better bets of the week. The others, I don't know what the Arkansas Missouri State over is yet, but like I said, I think I could see some points in that one. So that's another one I like. And you know, some of these others that have big lines, like I try to stay away from those at this point. But Chris, the one I'm definitely staying away from, Vanderbilt, Northern Illinois. I want no part of that.
I don't blame you. Is our favorite bet this? When we're not professional bettors, we don't aspire to be. But is our favorite bet the under on Ole Miss and Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I like the under on that. I like going the under on Auburn and Penn State because I think it's going to be a rock fight.
Yeah, that's another good one. I like that one.
What is the over under on that one?
It's like 48.5, but I just don't see either team getting above, in the mid 20s, and I think it's going to hit. So,
yeah, I kind of like that one too. Thank you, Sam.
Basketball coming soon.
Baseball coverage will get better when yours truly is healthy for a full season. We're going to put a lot more time into baseball next year. That is, I think in this group, just for those of you who don't know us, I'm the baseball guy. Blake is the basketball guy, and Blayne is the football guy. Although we all know a lot about the other sports. That's kind
only
of where our bread is buttered.
Gonzaga basketball. If it's not Gonzaga basketball, I don't know anything about it. So,
well, you would know more about it, Blayne, had you watched our live reaction to the Bus Bus sending.
I couldn't help it. I was in my feelings over there with the Zags getting put out in Sweet 16.
There you go.
Vandy fan already bagging it until baseball's. Oh, Vanderbilt's got a shot at Northern this. I like Vandy to win that one.
Well, after that, Chris, I think that's
that might be the last. But when you are rebuilding at the level they are, you have to.
I think
take your wins and celebrate them, no matter who.
I think I'll go full disclosure on here and tell everybody I think I'm the only one in our power rankings that's been putting Vandy at 13 and Missouri at 14.
That's true. I'm not there yet. Vandy's got to beat somebody in the league. When you've got a 21 game losing streak in the league, you stay last until you beat someone in the league. But I could see it. I mean, that game with Missouri in a month could be very interesting. Goodness, especially if Missouri looks like it did last week.
All right. Stakes, super chats, subscribe button. Boom.
Bedtime.
Bedtime.
Good night, everybody.